did you go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the me quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of Colts, Crims and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and welcome to 2026. Ugh.
Yes, Happy New Year to you all. We could have adopted the Larry David approach and made no mention of New Year's, happy or otherwise, now that we're into the third week of the new year. But fuck it, we want you to be happy.
Which is becoming increasingly difficult these days because things have been a bit fucking depressing. There's, Trump's obsession with Greenland.
Donald, you can't have your Greenland until you've finished your Venezuela.
Yes, like Pink Floyd said, how can you have your pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Yes, indeed.
Eat your meat. Eat your meat, Donald. Eat your meat. So, look, it is looking like 2026 is going to be a real shit show. You all knew that. Because when it comes down to it, regime change is rarely a simple process. Trump seems intent on doing that all over the world. But there is one thing I reckon could really help Venezuela find peace right now in this uncertain time, and that's beer.
Peace for us all. Peace in our time.
That's beer. So it's not just any old beer, though. The Venezuelans are experiencing a lot of uncertainty. And the last thing they need is the kind of macro-brewed piss that Jack drinks. No, sir. Regime change goes better with hops, the piney, delicious hops that make the CBCO IPA so lovely. Now, remember, you can get 10% off your order with CRP10 at the checkout when you stroll on down to cbco.beer and add a few cases to your cart. I think there's some free shipping eventually. And you're not getting any younger listeners, so do it now because the hangovers are getting worse. And enjoy the fresh taste of freedom in every tin of CBCO beer. Oh, it's just...
Today's show, I would have loved to have told this little story of the Ukrainians setting up the US in terms of a little bit of an intel sting. This is just developing story right now. They made up some intel and they gave it to the United States. And guess where it ended up, Joel?
The Ruskies?
Man, I believe all intel sharing has been paused for a little while. I think the French were also involved with the Ukrainians, so they set them up nicely. God only knows what's going on in the White House. But today's show is replete with the terrible politics that have arisen in Australia in the aftermath of the Bondi attacks on December 14.
Yes, there is much to get through here. Honestly, I'm so exhausted. It's just tiring. But what should have been a time of national unity has turned into a dumb tribal shit show, which I'm very fucking disappointed about. But we have complex bills to introduce, this hate legislation, and gun buybacks. There's, for some reason, a royal commission.
Well, it's funny to me that the majority of people assume royal commissions are a universal panacea to cure what ails you. When a look at history will tell us RCs often raise more questions than they answer.
But we're having one, Jack, so you're going to look at it, you're going to read it, you're going to like it, because you're paying for it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about what's going to go on there. And later, we'll take a look at Tommy Robinson and what he gets up to in the dead of night. Also, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is a liar, but you already knew that.
Yes.
And Ralphie Babbitt gets pissy about shit that he doesn't understand.
Yes, which is a lot. The stuff that Babs does not understand and talks so confidently about could fill a warehouse or a planet.
Big warehouse. And we better get on with the show. We don't even have time to remind listeners of our Patreon, where you can sling us a $5 or more to have access to all manner of salacious content. If we had time, we would tell you to go to www.patreon.com/the Conditional Release Program, but we don't, so we can't.
No, there's no time to waste, Jack. None of this pissy advertising nonsense. Let's get on with the show. So the NSN are NS no more.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'll eulogize them later. On the afternoon of Tuesday, 13th January, the group posted an announcement to the Telegram group. They were fully disbanding by 11:59 p.m. on January 18.
Oh, God.
Very strange.
We're recording
deadline
this on the
to set.
19th, so they're gone.
Oh, no. I'll miss them. Apparently, last night they were drinking in Toongabbie. Tom Tanuki posted a thing saying basically, stay the fuck away from there. It's like a bowling club or some shit. I'm sure they had a really sad day. I don't care. This is just one of those weird sort of things they say, oh, we're disbanding by this time, because all they really have to do in order to disband is delete a few social media accounts, make plans that don't involve wanking each other off their little Nazi boy gym, and just get on with their fucking lives. But no, yeah. Oh, well. So look, I know what you're thinking. Hey, fuck the NSN. No one's going to miss them. But I was so excited for the White Australia Party. Aww.
Yeah,
well,
they're
look,
gone too.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, listeners. That dream is dead as well. It's a bad day.
Yeah, not so fast, Joel, because ahead of the tense negotiations around this bill, prominent National Socialist Network figure Jacob Hersant also urged members of the neo-Nazi group to target Liberal members to oppose the bill. In a post shared on Telegram on Sunday, he urged members to continue pressuring the Liberal Party, this is a quote, continue pressuring the Liberal Party to not vote through this legislation, which will destroy the criminal justice system. Ooh. Hersant went on, these laws will begin an era of tyranny where people are going to have 15-year jail sentences hanging over their head. It's heads, by the way, or for nothing more than political communication. Take this seriously. Lock in, start making posts, commenting and emailing. It's important to target and influence the Liberal Party and centre-right organisations and influencers.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
That's
As
not
Redbridge pollster Kos Samara said on his socials today,
oh, deep breath. If anyone in politics thinks that ends well for this side of politics, they have rocks in their head. Oppose laws on principle if you must, but if the loudest people cheering you on are Nazis, you've got a major optics problem on your hands. And here's where I think Labor is missing the boat too. They should stump up the bill and force the vote. Make every MP and senator put their name on the record, supporting stronger hate speech laws or opposing them. No hiding behind talking points, no concerns about process, just a clear line in the sand. Because if you're choosing to side with the people lobbying against protections from intimidation and incitement, that choice should be owned publicly and permanently. Oof,
makes a good point.
And the stakes aren't abstract. If further acts of violence occur, voters will look back and ask a very simple question. Who tried to tighten the laws and who tried to water them down? The consequences for those in the latter camp won't be a tough media day. It'll be a lasting stain on credibility, trust, and social license. Leadership is about drawing boundaries. Put the bill up, call the bluff, let history record the names. I won't be holding my breath, though.
Yeah, well, it's hard to disagree with Cos there. I would say that Elbow said if we can't get this done by tomorrow, we're recording on the 19th, we can't get this done by the 20th, I'm pulling the pen. Yeah,
okay.
so...
Yeah. They wanted the rush. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So the announcement and disbanding of the group is in response to the draft bill released the same day titled Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism Bill. So basically they made this Telegram post pretty fucking quick after it was announced. And this is, of course, going to create a new federal offence, making it illegal to incite racial hatred where the conduct would cause a reasonable person in that group to feel intimidated, harassed or fear violence. And this would carry a maximum 5-year prison sentence. Look, it essentially makes it impossible for NSN to continue as intended. They claim in the announcement that the legislation, this is a quote, the legislation allows the government to ban any organization that's given Roman salutes in the past.
Roman salutes.
Yeah. You know, what have the Romans ever done for us? All they do is salute all the time.
That's right, yeah.
So Tony Burke has already flagged the NSN alongside an Islamic group. His Tahrir. Yeah, I look at that. I'm like, why is that dash there? And what is it doing? And they're set to be banned under the new laws. So this move to stamp down on the NSN doesn't really come as a surprise to our yachting merchandise enthusiast friends.
Yeah. It should be noted that this is a draft bill which will be debated and likely amended by the Senate. So right now this is all hypothetical, but it's likely we will see some form of this bill passed. So we will have a look at it and let you know what we know right now.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a constantly evolving thing, but it's a very interesting, like, I haven't really seen a draft bill that's been so sort of poured over, and so many people saying they've read it when they obviously fucking haven't. I mean, as if you would. Reading legislation is a form of torture, and it should be...
It really is.
Like, read the explanatory memorandum, read the fact sheet. Don't be weird about it. Like, don't lie that you read the bill, you fucking idiots. Anyway, so immigration controls are set out in Schedule 2 of the bill, which the NSM would usually be rather happy about until they realise it will be used to deport them too. Oh,
wait.
no. No, remigrate them, not me. That's bad. So it sucks when the thing you really want that happens to you instead of your perceived enemies, and you have a big cry about it because none of your beliefs actually make any sense. Oh, well. So the NSN, of course, might do that Phoenix job and rebrand themselves. That's the thing everyone's saying. The legislation will cover that. I mean, like...
It does.
Yeah,
they might go underground.
Maybe, but like I don't
live
really...
like moles, dig themselves little burrows and things like that. But whenever they come up with one of their other half-assed neo-Nazi organisational names, bang.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you're all just rebranding, just like the People's Front of Judea. I'm sorry, but we know who you are. Be splitters all you like. We know what's going on here. So, look, it is quite funny. It's difficult to be a Nazi just when it's a bit illegal to be a Nazi. It's funny that everyone seems to think that these wily Nazis are just going to change their name and suddenly be on the safe side of this law that no one ever thought of. Oh, my God, they're so clever. Oh, they really outsmarted us with this. I think that maybe they should call themselves the Slightly Miffed Regarding Migration Club. Because they're a bit miffed. They are. And that won't upset a reasonable person. I'm a reasonable person. I'm not upset by that. And I'm sure they've considered their options, and this is probably one of them. I mean, they're all listeners, right? So it's hard to imagine that's the end of the NSN as we know it. Of course, these things are eternal, but they don't really have anything else going for them. That's the main problem here. Like, what are they going to do? Go back to their lives? Many of them are unemployable now because they've all been doxxed. And this is kind of their thing. I mean, like, maybe they will, ironically, fuck off somewhere else to preach their bullshit where they're allowed to, move to Hungary. I don't give a fuck. That would be nice to see. But, yeah, I don't think we're going to be that lucky.
All right, moving on to the doc, or the bill. It's a chunky thing, very large, with quite a few sections. In a move that I would say is a little bit shitty, they included the firearms amendments and buyback program in this bill, which has now been kept separate so it could be debated in its own right, which seems reasonable. I'm a reasonable person.
You are.
It seems reasonable to me.
That's the test. Passed. Tick. Sweet. So that aside, the draft bill is 136 pages, and then it sort of just contains some interesting proposals that I think everyone's going to have their own opinion on this. But the issue is it's just a draft bill. So it will almost certainly be heavily amended by the Senate by some sort of agreement with the Greens or the crossbench or the coalition, just in case they decide to do a backflip. Who knows? But the bill, as we know it now, carries very harsh sentences and has very low thresholds for the charges. And I do find that a little bit worrying, but it's very much early days, so I'm not going to lose sleep over this.
Well, it might be a case of we need to do something, this is something, let's do this.
It's definitely a political wedge issue.
Yeah.
So,
the coalition's kind of wedged itself, but do go on, Joe.
They did wedge themselves. So the coalition has signalled the opposition to the bill, with Lay calling it unsalvageable, which
and Penny Wong replying and saying Susan Lay's leadership is unsalvageable.
Such a good zinger. Fuck you. And of course, this is despite spending the last month furiously demanding the Prime Minister introduce this. And you really just can't please some people. And I think the Australian people have really twigged onto that and find this whole situation really embarrassing, because it was obvious from the start that once the dog caught the car, they would have no idea what to do with it. This
exactly
is the party
right,
that went nuts over 18C, and they're like screaming for this legislation. Come on. These leopards don't change their spots. So the SMH reported this not long after the details of the bill were released.
They did. And look, I must say, we are referring to the coalition as the opposition, but polling would tell us that they ain't. They're coming in a poor third. But we'll stick with convention for now.
They still have the second most seats.
The opposition was briefed on the laws late on, that's last Monday, the 12th of January. But in the afternoon, Lay claimed it was unreasonable for a single bill to cover multiple complex and unrelated policy areas. We've already talked about the gun law stuff. So you might have something there, but it was like, let's nitpick.
Yeah. And like the thing is I think that was a bit simple, because The Guardian gave the full quote, and this is like the full quote.
We are deeply sceptical of the Prime Minister's decision to introduce a single bill that will attempt to cover multiple complex and unrelated policy areas. For example, issues of speech are clearly separate from the ownership and management of firearms. Again. Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I'm not going to...
But that's where you negotiate, right?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I would say that basically Albo put this forward being like, sucked in, because it's that thing of basically, offering high or low and then having a meet in the middle. And this is one of those things, basically a freebie. He's conceded, but he conceded nothing. in splitting this bill. So, like, I think that was Albo being a politician, which is fine. It is what it is. But they are two separate issues. And, like, one of them is obviously poison from the Nats. So he's trying to bait the coalition and try and, cause massive internal pressure there, which worked. And the issue here is, like, some federal Labor MPs, because, I mean, Labor MPs have most of the seats, so there are some country areas they've got, of course. They're going to struggle with this, including our sort of, or my parasocial friend. We're best mates. He just doesn't know it yet. Dan Repiccioli in the Hunter. He's
the Labor member for Hunter, former coal miner. And I think he likes to get down on the bang too.
He does. He's like a sports shooter, and sports shooting is a shitload of fun. I don't have a license, but I've shot a lot of rounds, and God, I love it. It's so much fun. Anyway, it's not a good look to be screaming about clamping down on anti-Semitism and then vote against a bill designed to combat it, as sort of demanded incessantly and angrily over a month or so, where, sort of before the bodies were cold, which was very tactless and awful. But the gun bit is going to be hard for some people to get past their constituents, and I understand that. But then, she did say this.
As is so often the case with this Prime Minister, he is squarely focused on what he perceives to be his political interest, not the national interest. This is a political decision aimed at fostering division, not creating unity. Is she talking about guns or anti-Semitism?
Yeah, like that.
I don't know.
That meant nothing. That was just dumb, pointless, that sort of coalition partisanship thing where you're just opposing things. As Albo said later, they're just opposing themselves at this point. So the coalition doesn't support it for political reasons, but he's the problem. It's him. He's political. Doesn't make any sense. But look, this is an important quote. This is from the 18th of December from Susan Ley.
4
this
days
is an
after the
statement.
Bondi attack, the coalition calls on the Prime Minister to immediately recall Parliament, to pass urgent legislation to eradicate anti-Semitism and strengthen Australia's counter-terrorism laws following the Bondi massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2 years of failure and inaction from the Prime Minister, I'm continuing to quote, the coalition has stepped up where the government has not.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
That age like some of Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s milk jar.
Yes, that's cheese that you left under the seat and you think, I swear I smell something. I don't know why. I swear, there's a block of cheese under my driver's seat. That's not good. That's been there for weeks. So, look, I'm not quite sure how they've stepped up or what the fuck she's on about entirely. But I think basically there's a bill and she's opposing it because it's big and it takes time to read. And she hasn't got that time. Yeah, she's busy, I don't know, going to country fairs and I don't know.
We don't know for sure how the coalition will vote on the bill and what form it will take when it is finally voted on, but the reception is not a bipartisan one. We also don't know the Greens' position on what amendments will get their support, though it appears they are lobbying for a wider scope of offences rather than a defence of free speech. But by the time Parliament was recalled, Susan Ley and her party had a change of heart and opposed the Omnibus bill. This has forced the government to separate the three elements of the bill, with the Greens saying they will only support the gun law amendments. The Omnibus bill is dead in the water, with hate speech provisions unlikely to pass in the Senate. What is left is the government attempting to get the anti-Semitism elements of the bill, but this too does not appear to have sufficient support to get it through the Senate, according to the Australian Joel.
Yeah, so Mr. Albanese was forced to split his Omnibus, I hate that word, anti-Semitism bill after the Greens on Saturday said it would only support the gun element of the law, but not the hate speech provisions. Quote, "We do not have a majority in the Senate. That is the Parliament Australians voted for," he said in Canberra. So Mr. Albanese said that, of course, Prime Minister. And quote, "It's clear what the coalition is against. It's up to others to justify why we are not able to proceed with hate speech laws." In bracket. So a spokesman for Susan Ley said that the opposition leader's statement on Thursday that the bill was unsalvageable was clearly a view shared by a majority of the parliament. Quote, "The Prime Minister never provided the opposition."
What would she know about that? Sorry.
Yes, she isn't exactly in a majority of the parliament. So she said, quote, "The Prime Minister never provided the opposition with an opportunity to provide input into the design of this legislation and did not consult us prior to finalising it." This is what the spokesman said. So, I mean, yeah, cool. Albo on his Insta said this, quote, "The current Liberal Party are making Peter Dutton look pretty constructive. They call for the return of Parliament, now they're against it. They call for the hate speech law, now they're against it. It's all been performative. They're so obsessed with opposing everything, they started opposing themselves. Menzies talked about the forgotten people. The modern Liberals hope that you've forgotten what they said just last week." Fuck. Ow. As of recording, the Albanese government has had less than 48 hours to achieve consensus on its split hate speech legislation after the government was forced to separate the legislation and drop the racial vilification penalties, which was lambasted over its unintended effect on free speech. Okay, that's interesting. As it stands, Labor plans to introduce the forms to Parliament on Tuesday morning. Senior coalition figures met in Canberra on Sunday, 18th January, ahead of today's condolence motion to honour the 15 victims and first respondents of the Bondi terror shooting on December 14. Opposition leader Lay has written to her shadow cabinet colleagues stating the Prime Minister is willing to change course further and has asked the coalition to go through the bill schedule by schedule, stating Labor would only introduce elements which were supported by the coalition.
Yeah, look, what Albanese wants is a broad majority of the parliament supporting this bill. And what the coalition is facing, the Liberal Party in particular, is what a lot of centre-right parties are going through around the world at the moment. Mm-hmm. They're caught in this kind of pincer movement. If they shift to the right, they lose ground in the centre. Yep. If they shift to the centre, they lose ground to the right. And this is really becoming an issue. We just mentioned polling very briefly that's showing, well some lot of is showing Pauline Hanson's One Nation, or One Nation now, as the second party in terms of highest support. Now, I think a lot of that is people just parking a sort of a protest vote against the coalition, against the Liberal Party in particular.
Yeah.
But they are caught betwixt and between, because let's imagine an election where One Nation is the genuine opposition. Labor win that by the length of the straight, but also the Liberal Party, where they might have some ground. It won't be in regional and rural Australia, because that's where One Nation will dominate. But in the cities where they've just sort of turned their backs on voters there, yeah, they're going to get pummeled. I mean, this could easily be the death of the Liberal Party by the next election.
I'll be very curious to see if they get Wentworth back based on all this hysteria. I don't think so. I don't think so.
I cannot imagine it.
Spender's done a good job of keeping that.
Just ignoring the Teal stuff and Allegra Spender's connection with the Jewish community in Wentworth. The broader issue is once you have, or the broader rule of this is, once you have independents re-elected for a second term, it's almost impossible to shift them.
As long as they're good local members and they're doing their job.
Yeah, if they do the good local member thing, they're there for as long as they want to be.
Yeah, she's definitely a good local member. She's very available, very active. Yeah, so
like a lot of Teals, must be said. But back to the Omnibus bill and the hate speech elements. Asked whether any Islamic groups had been consulted during the drafting of the legislation, a spokesman for Attorney General Michelle Rowland said, consultation on the new laws is ongoing and has involved a range of experts and stakeholders, including the Jewish community. Executive Council of Australian Jewry, Co-Chief Executive Peter Wertheim, welcomed the announcement of the new laws, describing it as, and I quote, a promising sign. The country cannot risk another round of reforms that will fall short of providing the level of protection it is claimed they provide. That's Peter Wertheim from the Council of Australian Jewry. So here is broad support from the Jewish community.
Yeah.
To this bill, and coalition, who were saying everyone had betrayed Australian Jews in the wake of the Bondi attack, they're just turning their backs on them. And it's impossible to know what's going on in that party at the moment. It's impossible to know. Are there some sort of libertarian elements in the far right, or in the right conservative faction of the party, who say, we don't want this free speech, yada, yada, yada?
Yeah.
Or is it just, look, we're here to undermine Susan Lay. That's our business right now. It's impossible to know.
It feels like there's a bit of both going on. Like, for example, the Jewish Council of Australia, which is the sort of more left-leaning one with Max Kaiser at the helm, has said, I believe, come out in like sort of strong opposition to the bill, saying it's dangerous and bad and blah, blah, blah. And
I have seen that. Yeah.
Generally just trying to avoid the idea of this being used as a way to crack down on groups that advocate for Palestine and things like that. We're, yet to see how that sort of thing's going to play out. But it is very interesting to see that, the sort of the left here are saying, I'm concerned about this. And you've got what I would consider to be the right with ECAJ saying, no, this is great. Let's do this. Then you've got the right of the Liberal Party being like, what the fuck? No, we can't have this. And then you've got the left of the Greens saying, we don't mind this. We just want it to go further. It is a mess. There's no ideological line we'll get to follow.
The Greens want protections for the LGBTQI community, disabled Australians, etc., etc. Labor's response to that is, look, let's work this out first, and then we'll see.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I still believe that generally stipulating groups is somewhat unnecessary because the whole point of the bill is to say here is the effect of what people do with hate speech, and we're legislating that. If that happens to be anti-Semitism or Islamophobia,
it would also make the bill, like when we were talking about the NSN, for example, it would make the bill. If you specify the NSN, I mean, for example, that means that law just dies. It dies when that organisation goes.
It's also just dumb. It's just dumb, and it's not how legislation should be written. Legislation should prevent a negative consequence or something along those lines. But look, speaking of politics, the usual suspects have found their core narrative to moan about the bill because they had to have something that doesn't mention Islam. Doesn't mention radical Islam. That's the problem.
Doesn't
That's
mention
the real
Scientology
problem.
either.
No.
Oddly.
No. And of course, yes, we, have been led to believe that it is alleged that the terrorist attack in Bondi was motivated by radical Islam. Cool. No problem. We don't know that for sure, but we've got some pretty decent hints, hence.
Absolutely it was. I mean,
well, it's alleged, yeah. Well, but at the same time, when it comes to the idea of explicitly singling it out, that terrorist attack is no less of a terrorist attack whether that was the basis for what they did or whether it was just pure anti-Semitism and the guy was some sort of, secular racist.
I mean, if we're talking about belonging to a particular group or not, that would seem not to be the case. But, ignoring this as a version of Islamic extremism is rather silly. But at the same time, there are all manner of groups in our society that would do society harm. And that's why mentioning Islamic State or any one of the other sort of Islamic groups is again going to date the nature of the legislation.
Yeah, and what is extreme Islam? What is radical Islam? It just becomes a fucking joke. At the end of the day, terrorists are terrorists, and if they're motivated by radical Islam, that is something that the intelligence agencies can deal with. That's their problem.
Well, yeah, but these things have vexed lawmakers for a long time. If you go and find a definitive definition of terrorism, good luck. There are about half a dozen running around at the moment. Yeah. That are accepted in various jurisdictions around the world. Yeah. It's just basically it's an act of violence committed for a political motive, and it shouldn't be that complex. But all groups from the UN, the EU, the United States, etc., really struggle to understand or struggle to define what terrorism is.
In this instance, we don't have much of there's no manifesto, there's no information, blah, 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 but it's pretty obvious what's going on. But we have had to piece it together because it hasn't really been anything explicit. My gripe here is just the comment section. And I shouldn't be looking at these things. I shouldn't be engaging at all. But just these fucking morons who are like, where's radical Islam? It's like, okay, you're an idiot. Never mind. But you also vote, which concerns me. So, look, as I said before, the idea that a bill would stipulate a single group, just singling them out as the bad guys, it's just not how laws are written. It just doesn't make any sense. And the laws are written here to prevent a consequence and not target a group. And they know that, or they don't. They're just fucking idiots. But it is pretty clear they're having a crack at what they believe is the product of radical Islam with this legislation. Let's face it. I mean, without naming it, it's pretty obvious. For example, the laws in Schedule 1, which according to the fact sheet say this.
Applies if a person in their capacity as a religious or other leader advocates or threatens force or violence in the course of providing religious instruction or religious or secular pastoral care.
Yeah, so that one has bloody 10 years in the Hoosgow. That's extra 2 if for some reason it, quote...
No, it would also threaten the peace, order and good government of the Commonwealth.
It's hard not to read that as targeting some of those fairly spicy sermons in mosques around Western Sydney. But, of course, the Dipshit Brigade wanted to spelled out for them in crayon in the legislation that they claim to have read, which obviously they haven't read because as we said, reading legislation sucks and they're barely literate. So the part of the bill that's really fucked the NSN here is Part 4 of Schedule 1, which creates this class of prohibited hate groups.
Yeah, so we have prescribed terrorist groups in this country, and that essentially relates to intelligence or intelligent agency recommendations made to government. But this allows the minister for the AFP, which generally speaking is the Minister for Home Affairs, must be satisfied that the organisation has engaged in, prepared, planned or assisted in a hate crime relating to race, national or ethnic origin, or has advocated hate crimes relating to race, national or ethnic origin. The AFP minister would also have to be satisfied that specifying the organisation as a prohibited hate group is reasonably necessary to prevent social, economic, psychological and physical harm to the Australian community by these organisations.
Yeah. So
it's pretty broad, isn't it?
It is very broad.
And does give, well, the Minister of Home Affairs has enormous discretionary
powers
around immigration, etc. We might remember Peter Dutton's au pairs.
Yeah, that's right.
Those sorts of things. The minister can just put the stamp and the signature on immigration matters. If one is contested, he or she, in this case, can demand the deportation of particular individuals. I mean, there are guidelines that they have to follow. They can't just do this out of a sense of malignance or malice. But
there's very little overview. Like the minister's decision, these things are often final.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing here. Like, the NSN have claimed this is because they've performed Roman salutes or whatever, and maybe that's what their lawyers have said. Who gives a shit? Like, I can see several reasons why they would fall into that. And like you said, it was really broad. Like, for example, like the assault on Camp Sovereignty in Melbourne. I mean, like, that's just one thing.
That's one.
Like, that's more than just
the banner,
doing Romans.
Even the banner in New South Wales, where they were foolishly allowed by New South Wales Police to march and end up outside the New South Wales Parliament, that banner would be sufficient to have them labelled a hate group, I would imagine.
Yeah, that seems like it would fall afoul of these laws.
It was very, very anti-Semitic and very unpleasant.
It's very, very naughty, and we need social cohesion. That's what the law's about. And that wasn't very cohesive.
On social cohesion.
The part of the law also this part of the law also stipulates the minister does not need to observe procedural fairness. From my reading, that basically just means there's no judicial review involved, which is a red flag, I think. Like, there should be.
Look, if we get to immigration matters, we might recall that a number of our Kiwi brothers and sisters have been slung back over the Tasman.
Yes,
these things are contestable. They are contestable in federal court if you have the means and the support to do so.
Yes,
so
but that
I imagine these. Well, I would imagine these laws will be tested in the High Court at some point anyway.
But of course, the fact that it stipulates the procedural fairness does not need to be observed is something the judiciary will interpret as basically that these are not fundamentally appealable. And because the boundaries of them are so broad, there's not really much that can't fall into them. So it just gives sort of ultimate discretion with a very sort of carte blanche style wording.
Very powerful human being is the Minister for Home Affairs, Joel.
Which, as Tony Burke, it feels like, he seems all right. Who's next? I wouldn't be getting too comfortable with this legislation because you never know who's going to take that mantle.
Look, there are fairly strict, but there are fairly strict guidelines about these things. So, I mean, look, here's but Turia. This is but Uturia. See you later. See you fucking later. And
I'm
about
not
time.
Sad about that in any way, shape, or form.
Sorry, I just want to go on. The sheer number of people. I mean, look, there was a report released by the Department of Home Affairs into just how many people are currently on watch notices.
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones who are cooperating, by the way, and there's about 300 of them. Then there's an unknown number of people that are not on watch lists, not going through what we might call de-radicalisation.
Yeah.
So there are a large number of people in this category, and ASIO is saying we don't have enough people to do all this.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
It is a bit of a problem. Yeah. And they start...
and it's not as if you can just throw money at it. I mean, that will help.
It takes time.
You need people with particular skill sets that are pretty rare, pretty hard to come across.
Yeah. Yeah. Certain temperament, certain training. There's a lot. Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's pretty tricky. So, we'll move on to part 6. This is a great one. This is deeply at odds with the NSN business model, which has an aggravated grooming offence. And this is from the fact sheet.
The bill would create an aggravated offence where a person over 18 commits an offence of advocating that a person under the age of 18 use force or violence against groups, members or groups and their property. A further new aggravated offence would be created where a person over 18 commits an offence of using a carriage service for violent extremist material, including by sharing violent extremist material with a person under 18.
Aww.
I meant to say before, of that 300 or so that are currently on watch lists, currently kind of doing the right thing.
How many are under 18?
More than a half are under 18.
Oof. That is terrifying.
So there is a real problem there. I don't know whether this law would fix that.
It's hard to say whether they're being groomed by older people in that situation or if it's fellow youths.
Well,
but I would
groomed
be very
is probably not
surprised.
the right word. I don't know why they're using that term, but what is it? Is it attempting to radicalise youth?
Well, I mean, like the grooming thing is basically, taking people under your wing and bringing them into your fold and filling their brains full of bullshit. I mean, like I think it works. But
grooming. I mean, grooming just has another meaning. In my
yes,
view.
of course.
So these are adults seeking to radicalise children, and the sheer number of young people, under the age of 18, that have fallen into their spell is quite astonishing. And the other thing that really is a bit scary is just how quickly it can be done to radicalise young people. It can happen in some cases in an afternoon.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Look, I can see why the NSN's calling it quits. They looked at their business model, they looked at their recruitment model, and they've gone, oh, shit, that's how we do business. Fuck, we can't do that anymore.
We won't be able to look for young...
impressionable, vulnerable children.
Yeah, kids who are a little bit, feel a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
Because people who are older and aren't vulnerable tend not to fall for Nazi bullshit. Oh, what a terrible situation to be in. So the migration amendments in Schedule 2 are a bit performative as the minister can already cancel visas on character grounds. We were sort of discussing that before, but it sort of fluffs it out to permanently exclude people whose visas were cancelled for entering Australia, which I thought they could already do, to be fair, but whatever.
I thought there's a few of these things that I thought were already in place, and that's just one of them.
It's a very Trumpian thing, though. You do the thing, and it's already there.
But look, I do know this. I do know this from the occasional times that I watch. Was it Border Patrol or whatever it is? That show?
Guilty pleasure.
And if they ping someone, they will be, I think it's 4 years, possibly 5, before they can make an application to re-enter Australia.
Yeah, okay, interesting. That's the most expensive leg of ham you've brought into the country.
I think it'd be a bit of a red flag though when the visa application came through.
I would imagine so.
I was rejected at the airport for, and sent home. That's going to. Surely that's someone in immigration or Australian Federal Police or passports is going to look at that and go, maybe not, mate. Immigration anyway. Yeah.
You'd like to think so. So there's also the draft bill explicitly stating that a visa can be cancelled for hate-motivated conduct or offences relating to the spread of hatred and extremism. Okay, fine. But look, I think this whole permanency
keeps Candace Owens out of the country.
Well, yeah, but it already did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it already did. Yeah.
I don't know.
But
so
it keeps her out. It keeps her out.
It keeps her out. And that's the kind of permanence that I like. My attention span's very long.
Whatever happened to that court case, if I might just interrupt just very briefly?
The High Court challenge?
Yeah.
I don't think it just failed.
I think it just died.
Just wholesale failed.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Candace Owens and the... Where's the money, Candace? That's another story. So, look, I would say some of this feels like a way to avoid sort of expensive court battles because, if the minister cancels and they want to appeal, they can't. But I do think that judicial review is important and should be factored into a lot of this. It's still not passed yet. We don't know what the final bill is going to be.
Well, I just want to mention the example. Probably not what this legislation is designed to do, but Peter Dutton ordered the deportation of a rather unpleasant career criminal I'm just trying to think of his name, and I'm sorry I don't have it available, but I've got his books up here somewhere.
Oh, good.
And he did write. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but it only got to 2 parts. He was a
I can sympathise
armed
with
robber, counterfeiter. Spent a lot of time in jail. A bit of a heavy as well. And when he was released, he was ordered deported. And he arrived in Australia, I think, about 7 years of age from the UK.
Yeah, brutal.
And he went. So that order came from Darton, and that was pretty much pack your bags.
Yeah.
But he took it. He took it to the High Court, where it was determined that he had done national service for this country.
Yeah.
Alas, no combat duties or anything like that during Vietnam. It predated all of that when we had NASHOs, but no actual wars. And so the High Court said, no, you've contributed, and you can stay. He's living in Tasmania, last I heard, very old.
Well, unfortunately, Matty Groots didn't get such treatment. He hasn't done any national service, national socialist service maybe. But if you look back with NSN, they were making a lot of noise about appealing the visa cancellation, which was going to send him back to South Africa. And they quietly just sort of stopped talking about it because there is jack shit you can do. So, yeah, like as we sort of fleshed out there, I feel like some of this is, like, say, that Trumpian way of basically saying, we are going to make this new law. And it's like, isn't that already law? It's like, shut up. We're doing a cool thing. And I want you all to say that we've done good. Like, all right, fine. When it comes to these laws, a lot of them are sweeping. A lot of them are increasing powers. Some of them just seem to be performative, to put it in a fairly sort of blunt term. But what will eventually be passed through negotiation, as we've said a million times today, we're not sure of. We just don't know what form this bill will take.
No, we don't know what amendments are going to be made in the Senate. Obviously, with Labor's stonking majority, it gets through the House. It gets through the House quite easily, but it's the Senate where they do not have a majority. As I said, that's what Australians voted for.
That's what we voted for,
for a long time. We haven't had a government majority in the House since 2004.
Yeah.
And it didn't end well.
That was
a lot of hubris and a lot of whack through these industrial relations reforms that people aren't going to like. And 3 years later, bye-bye.
Yeah. I got a cool T-shirt in 2007, so it's fine. I got Bob Hawke to sign it too.
Anyway, in Schedule 4, so we're getting into 4. This really is an omnibus, isn't it? It really is. It's not a trilogy. It's not a trifecta. It's a quadrilla.
So many schedules
of law.
It's like a timetable.
And Schedule 4 is the firearms amendments, which features the gun buyback, but also an expansion of federal powers in vetting potential gun license holders. This is one of those cases I talked about here. I'm pretty sure this is already the case.
You'd think so.
There will be a federal firearms background check, which will include a potential ASIO, Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission as well assessment, and will be facilitated by states and territories who have retained the power to grant or deny firearms licences. Part 2 will also allow for disclosure of spent, pardoned or quashed convictions in limited circumstances. Yeah, I thought ASIO had oversight of these things anyway, or indeed state police could turn around and say, can we get an assessment on this guy?
You'd bloody think so, wouldn't you?
You'd think so.
You would think so. You would think so.
Yeah, but anyway, it didn't.
The real winner is going to be fucking consultancy companies who are going to be busy at work making these, elaborate fucking database programs that are going to cost millions and millions of dollars in order to do this cross-checking, because that's sort of how this has to work.
Yeah,
there needs to be an IT infrastructure for it. And Accenture's going to get the money for it.
The great difficulty in this is that firearms licensing really belongs. The processes really belong in the 20th century, and not the last part of it either. It's all paper. It's all, fill this out in triplicate, carbonized paper and what have you, in many states.
Bad.
So this is part of that problem. How do the ACRAMs get firearms? And again, this will be something we'll talk about in the Royal Commission when we get to that. But application made in 2016. No photo attached, so it just lapsed. 2020, Sajid Akram makes another application, this time with photo attached. Doesn't get approved till 2023.
Yeah.
There's a question for Virginia Bell right there.
Yeah, there'll be a few. There will be a few.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of embarrassment, Joel. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But
yes.
we are going to have a look at a little bit of a potential hate crime here, Joel.
Yeah, so let's have a look at some of the hate crimes that are going on. But this one is more toward the Islamophobia side of things. So 23-year-old Brendan Nicholls has been charged with criminal damage and assault for his role in attacking a Muslim imam and his wife in southeast Melbourne on Saturday the 10th of January. Not February, because that's the future.
That is the future.
Unless I don't edit this for ages, and then, hey, it's like 2 days ago. It is alleged that he drove dangerously to intimidate them before getting out and kicking his car. And it is also alleged that the imam was punched in the face and his wife was called a Muslim bitch. Bystanders intervened and the accused, allegedly, returned to their vehicle and fled the scene.
Well done, bystanders.
Bitch cowards they are. And yeah, I totally agree. Lots of people just don't do stuff these days. And we need to be a country of doers that walks over and goes, "Oi, are you fucking right, mate?" But look, Brendan, I'm going to say that is naughty. Oh, that is allegedly naughty. That is allegedly naughty, but it is naughty. So he fronted Dandenong Magistrates Court and found himself rather upset with the handling of his case.
Just as an aside, Joel, can you imagine Monday morning at the Dandenong Magistrates Court?
No, I can't.
Ooh. I'm scared just thinking about it.
If you think Border Control is a titillating watch that you don't mind tuning into every now and then, imagine fucking Dandenong Court, Judge Judy style. Darren, why are you here again? Darren, I'm sick and tired of this. You're going to the clink. Oh, but my fucking dogs,
for
mate.
The rest of your life.
Yeah.
All right. So Brendan's in front of the Dandenong Magistrates Court on a Monday morning with the rest of the human flotsam and jetsam, and
well, he's got a mate. He's got a co-accused.
Has he?
Yeah, lives in the same caravan park in Dandenong. What a shame.
God.
And that's where Nicholls lives with his mother. So his co-accused was granted bail to reappear in May. I'm not sure why, but apparently part of the issue with Nicholls is that A, he's a bit of a prick, and B, he lives in the same caravan park as the co-accused, which is not a recipe for success.
Yeah, probably not good.
That's why young Brendan was not given bail. He had his bail application adjourned by a couple of days because he was withdrawing from drugs and unfit to see a magistrate, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure what drugs they were, but I'm guessing meth, because he doesn't seem like a heroin guy. Heroin's a much more chill thing.
Yeah,
seems a bit more hectic.
I don't see too many heroin addicts just biffing people and slandering them.
It's not an opiate thing.
Streets. I'm going to say meth.
Yeah, I'm going to say meth. So Nicholls, Allegedly. So Nicholls is also facing separate charges of choking a woman, for which apparently he did get bail, although that was a compounding factor in why he did not get bail in the second one.
Yes, well.
I do think that's interesting when you see Facebook groups complaining about violence against women being not taken seriously. I guess we could chalk that into that category. When Nicholls was denied bail, there was a commotion in the court as Nicholls, who is clearly a good bloke having a bad week, screamed, "This is fucked!
This is fucked.
And tried to jump out of the dock. This is fucked!" And he had a good crack at it, to apparently getting about halfway up the glass partition before being pulled down by court officers, where he continued to shout nonsense. He was dragged downstairs to his new home at the Remand Centre. On the bus. Brenny.
I mean, what's he expect? Oh, look, the magistrate says, "Oh, look, I may have been mistaken. Now that you've confronted me and threatened to assault me, I'm going to give you bail."
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly how this works. I love his strategy. Legal strategy is good. So you can see where this all came from, because his mother apparently ran toward him and had to be restrained by security guards, threw herself onto the ground sobbing. Interesting. Now, I, of course, am one who has serious ADHD issues, and I run down rabbit holes. So Nicholls is an employee at Bunnings, which is, of course, a slightly terrifying prospect. But Bunnings is a terrifying place. And without sort of unhinged junkies working the shelves in aisle 17, you've got to worry about the customers. So recently, Bunnings was pulled up by the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner for breaching Australians' privacy with facial recognition software that basically used the CCTV to profile customers without their consent. And you can't do that, apparently. What a shame. Bunnings, in an interesting move that I would not say was exactly PR success, responded by releasing footage of violent incidences in their store, which included a man in a balaclava with a shotty just wandering around the shop, a man sucker punching a security officer in the face for apparently no reason, and a customer holding a knife to the throat of a worker at the store. I'm guessing the bolts were in the wrong aisle or something. I feel like the real question at the the sausage sizzle should be: would you like onions or would you like some assault
Would
and
you
battery?
like to be
with that?
assaulted?
Yeah. Would you like a punch in the face with your snag? So there is a lesson here, folks. Maybe it is that inflaming tensions toward the Muslim community will have a tangible and violent impact upon those within it, including people like Brendan Nicholls thinking that, hey, fuck, we should probably attack these people now because the news seems to be very keen on that. But maybe it is that we do need to broaden the power of judiciary to punish these hate crimes like this. What do you reckon?
Allegedly.
Yeah. No, it's this. Don't go to Dandenong.
That's the lesson.
That's the lesson. Stay
Don't go.
far
Don't go,
away
folks.
from Dandenong, especially the fucking Bunnings, because you
Mount
don't.
Dandenong is lovely. Dandenong, the suburb, is not.
Oh, well, I'm glad we stipulated these things. Thank you, Victorian resident in charge.
As we record, the government had 2 days to get this bill over the line. Well, that's the deadline Albo's given. I suspect it will, in one shape or another, with coalition support and with the Green support and firearms amendments, most of which will be overseen and policed by the states.
Of course.
The racial stuff probably won't get up. But anyway, what seems to be lost. We're going to take a long, hard look at the gun laws in our next episode because we have had a bit of a moment where we tend to agree with the Nationals. A frightening thought. But one that says that a lot of other people are being punished for the outrages of 2 bastards. For now, the government intends to create a national buyback scheme promised in the immediate aftermath of the Bondi terror attack.
Yes, and look, to give you an idea of the buyback scheme, this is the federal-state split here. It basically means the guns that people will have to give up due to the states changing their firearms limits will at least you'll be able to fetch a few dollars at the cop shop. You know, the current thing is basically that there'll be a limit on firearms. And if you've got too many firearms, you can go fuck yourself. So it will be hard for some people in the community to wrap their heads around the separate laws because the idea of the buyback feels like the limitation, but they are 2 different things with 2 different people to be angry at. There's Mins and there's Albo in New South Wales. There'll be Allen and there's Albo in Victoria. But when it comes to this situation at the Commonwealth level, the buyback is about giving money to people to compensate them for handing in their guns based on state laws.
Yeah, that's right.
The difference.
So there's difficulties there, but the first thing to note is that people who live on farms won't be affected by the numbers. Won't be affected by the number of guns they can carry.
Really?
Yeah, if you're a farmer, you're kind of excluded from this, which is why the Nats shouldn't be too unhappy with it.
Yeah.
But yes, we are talking about professional hunters, etc., who might have a whole swag of guns. Will be required to reduce them if they're living in the cities or even in
people fucking love collecting
not
guns.
On farms. They're not running farms.
We'll get into it later, but man, people love collecting guns. They just I don't understand it. Like, I could have 3 guns. And I'd be like, okay. I'm good, but hey.
Okay, yeah. It is the case that you know, if we look at firearms ownership in Australia, a very, very small number of Australians have firearms, but those who do
they've got tons of the fucking things.
they love it.
Yeah, but this one's got wood on the bottom.
They've got to have they've got to have, you know, safes, gun safes, bolted to the floor. The police can come around at any time.
I believe the ammunition and the firing pins are separate. It's a whole thing.
Who is in possession of a firearms license and keeps guns at home.
Yeah.
The cops can just walk into your house. The bill, however, also tightens the importation of a range of firearms, including guns with belt-fed ammunition, magazines of more than 30 rounds, firearm sound suppressors and speed loaders, and it ends the use of open-ended import permits.
Yeah.
We might remember a bit of a furore around, it was Bob Cutter Jr., I think, was importing a shotgun, which is not a pump action, but is
the Adler, the lever action.
Yeah, that's right, lever action shotgun, and that was thought to be a bit over the top, but it was waved through.
Yeah, well, they're pretty hectic weapons. Yeah, like you know, when it comes to the sort of importing thing and stuff like that, from what I've seen in the comment section, is basically people saying, you may as well make these things illegal if no one's going to be able to get them.
Yeah.
So, okay, fair enough. But like, I'm not hugely crying about that. My my beliefs on gun laws is like, you know, we'll flesh that next episode. But I don't think that any of this stuff really would have prevented the attack in Bondi.
It's odd, and we'll get to this in the Royal Commission stuff, but it's odd. Certainly, it would seem overtly that Akram had weapons that he was not licensed to own.
Or modifications, at least, yeah.
Well, the modification is a bit different. I accept that a lot of that can be done in,
3D
dark
printers
web
and shit like that. And
in
that's
the
in
background.
legislation too, the 3D printer thing.
That shotgun, that shotgun that he had there, the loading mechanism, even a 5-round magazine or
the chamber thing, the tube under the thing.
That would require a C-grade license, and he didn't have one of those.
Yeah.
So it's a bit odd. I don't know how this is going to be explained, but anyway, that'll be a matter for the Royal Commission.
Yeah, many of the changes will be implemented at the state and territory level, like we said before, and the federal government will introduce those few new regulations around background checks and things like that. So the background checks for current and prospective gun owners will become more rigorous and more frequent under the legislation, which is probably a good thing. This will allow more information sharing between states and territories and the Commonwealth and security agencies. I got no issue with that either. And the bill would basically allow the ASIO and the ACIC to, check these things out. And that's good.
I just, again, am I naive? But why wasn't this happening in the first place?
I tell you what, man, it's going to be databases. Like I say, the money is going to go all the way to Accenture, who's just going to fucking cash in and make a big old database and centralize the whole thing. But I think it's going to be worth it. I think for once, it'll be money well spent, as opposed to bomb website, which I want to like.
Well, one of the things that I thought, surely you have to be an Australian citizen to own a firearms license. And Akram was not.
Yeah.
Or his son was, but he wasn't. So Akram was not an Australian citizen. So is that why there was a 3-year delay? I don't understand. But I thought you would have to be an Australian. So I went into a bit of a dive about this. And these laws were changed. They go back to the Howard gun laws, but they were changed more than 10 years ago when we had an influx of New Zealand hunters or professional shooters come into the country to assist in the eradication of our feral animals.
Ah, okay.
And so they waived it.
Interesting.
So there's another thing for the Royal Commission. Of course, that brings us now to the Royal Commission.
It does.
And
the solution to all of our problems.
We now have a Royal Commission into the Bondi attack. The setup, I'm not sure why it took Albo so long to announce this. Theories abound, but I think the one that will become obvious as the RC gets stuck into its work is that ASIO is poorly resourced and poorly led. The AFP is similar in terms of being poorly led and has a long history of poor leadership. And there are petty jealousies between state and federal police.
Okay.
I think those things will be obvious. And my argument is that the Royal Commission may lead to diminished confidence with law enforcement and security agencies in the community, and that is something no political leader wants.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cops cannot work without public confidence. If they lose the confidence of the public, it becomes very, very ugly. Their job, they really can't do it.
Yeah.
Without the assistance of the public and confidence, public confidence in police. So I think
like a social
maybe
contact
that's
type
the
thing.
reason Albo dragged his feet, because it was obvious from day one that we needed a Royal Commission. But having said that, I think people think, Royal Commissions, we have perp walks and now we'll have, secret cameras and all this sort of stuff. And it has these wide-ranging powers. And that's going to be a really good thing. But in the end, I can point to any one of a number of Royal Commissions that are the banking Royal Commission. Let's just, I'll stop chortling for a moment to see, well, where's that gone?
Yeah.
The Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse. I mean, you talk to a lot of victims, they'll say that it was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I agree that it was a complete waste of time, but it was a wasted and traumatic exercise for a lot of people.
And it didn't solve the problem per se.
Yeah, to suggest that if you have a Royal Commission set and forget, it's kind of nonsense.
Well, it's sweet. We're going to have a Royal Commission into peace in the Middle East, and we're going to solve all the world's problems, and it's going to be Virginia Bell who does it, and that's fucking great. It's a bit silly. When it comes down to the look into the intelligence thing, like that seemed like a very smart thing to do. Quickly have a look at the intelligence, point some fingers, and maybe have a few people resign. Okay, fair enough. But, of course, in the end, all manner of people urged, signed open letters, yelled from rooftops, and grouped together to force Albo to move away from his original plan, which was to hold the independent inquiry led by former ASIO boss Dennis Richardson. That plan is now dead.
No, that's gone.
And that was a good plan. That should
resume your seat, Mr. Richardson.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are pretty happy about that, to be fair, in the intelligence community.
He's good. He's sort of a gun.
Well, the problem is that he is good. I think there's a lot of people who are sitting in ASIO shitting themselves and they've gone, oh, thank fuck, he's not there. The RC will be quite different.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that they've got it away with something here because Dennis would have. I'm not saying that Virginia Bell's not competent, but anyway, we'll get to that.
No, it's a different thing. This is an internal review where people will have the acid put on them, and as you say, a number of them wouldn't be in their jobs in 12 months' time.
Heads would have rolled. Anyway, look, politics is politics. But we were very amused, especially me as a North Melbourne supporter, to hear that Wayne Carey was one of the fine sports folk. I think that was
the thing that tipped it. I think that was the thing. Mr. Prime Minister, Wayne Carey has called for a Royal Commission. Well.
Do you reckon Albo's a secret North supporter? I mean,
he's a Hawthorn man, Joel.
Well, you can't change teams, can you? So, look, and who would want to?
It was kind of odd. Yeah, there were people from all walks of society who really don't know terribly much about royal commissions who were actually, what we need now.
Well, as Constamaris was saying before, basically, if Nazis are on your side, then maybe you should check your shit. If Sam Newman is one of the people pressuring you for a Royal Commission, maybe you should just.
He does a podcast with Carey.
Really? Okay,
occasionally. Well, I think more than occasionally.
Two sides of the same coin.
I only see clips of it on my Insta. I don't actually tune in.
The idea of listening to a podcast with Sam Newman. Oh, I would just rather eat fucking lead. So the Royal Commission, of course, exists. We know this because it now has a website.
It's got a website.
It has an internet, which is great. Inside the Commonwealth Attorney General's site. So it's a sub-site, a subsect.
At this stage.
A subdomain, potentially. It is formally known as the Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion. Not formally, but formally. Like a dinner suit, tuxedo.
Formally. That's its formal title, Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion.
And as I'm sure you're all aware, unless you've been living under a rock, we have a Royal Commissioner, retired High Court Judge Virginia Bell. And Bell is an intriguing character. She has a very interesting history. She is a very well-respected jurist, though. She's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Fucking great brain, long career in the law. A former New South Wales Supreme Court judge as well. Rose of ranks, former DPP prosecutor. And prior to that, a highly sought-after defence barrister.
Her background, she's one of the rare ones. When Callanan was forced to resign, they have to resign at 70, the High Court justices.
They do, yes.
All judges. And
that's in the Constitution.
When she replaced Callanan, there was a bit of a gap in the High Court because none of the others had any sort of criminal law experience. And, of course, Virginia Bell brought that along. She defended Chris Reticle Flannery on a murder charge in the 1980s. Some listeners may recall from an interview I did with former mate of Flannery's, Ray Mooney.
Yep.
Flannery was charged with the murder of Sydney Hood Raymond the Lizard Loxley, who was found murdered in 1979. The murder charge was fit up, no doubt, with plenty of Victorian and New South Wales coppers making absurdly false statements, criminally false statements, actually, that put Flannery at the scene of the murder in Menai and Sydney southwest when he was, in fact, in Melbourne and had 30 to 40 alibi witnesses to prove it. It was a fit-up. Bell took the case on Flannery's behalf. Long story short, the case was ultimately no-billed in 1984, less than a year before Flannery's disappearance, and it shouldn't have taken that long. But, she was considered a very fine upcoming criminal defence barrister at the time.
Of course, in other colourful stuff here, Virginia Bell was a TV barrel girl.
She was.
Would you like to explain that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's some long ago show on the ABC or possibly one of the commercial networks. Competition, send your
spin the barrel
stamped envelope into the barrel and she'd give it a spin.
Excellent. That's very Hey It's Saturday.
I went looking for what show it was on, but I couldn't find it.
That is excellent. But she was a barrel girl.
Just once, I believe.
I now know. Oh, only once. Okay. Yeah, well, just dabbler. But she began her career as a solicitor in the rough inner city setting of Sydney's Redfern Legal Centre before it was so-called gentrified. It's still pretty hectic. The centre could not afford to pay her, so she volunteered. And that's good. That is a noble thing to do. But she was also a leading figure in the prison reform movement.
She was indeed.
So the Royal Commission will cover 4 key areas as set out in the letters patent. Fancy words. Ooh, talk legal to me.
So these 4 are starting with the first, tackling anti-Semitism by investigating the nature and prevalence of anti-Semitism in institutions and society and its key drivers in Australia, including ideologically and religiously motivated extremism and radicalisation.
Yeah, there's your radical Islam. They just haven't put the word Islam in there. Come on, guys.
Number 2, making recommendations that will assist law enforcement, border control, immigration and security agencies to tackle anti-Semitism, including through improvements to guidance and training within law enforcement, border control, immigration and security agencies to respond to anti-Semitic conduct. There's your immigration reference. That was one of Lay's
big whinge
that it didn't deal with immigration, but it clearly does.
Yeah.
Item 3, examining the circumstances surrounding the anti-Semitic Bondi terrorist attack on 14th December 2025. And finally, making any other recommendations arising out of the inquiry for strengthening social cohesion in Australia and countering the spread of ideologically and religiously motivated extremism in Australia. So these are pretty broad. These are not terms of reference. I'm sorry, Joe, I'm just getting ahead. But these are not terms of reference. Those are yet to be finalised, but they will be very, very close to the 4 key areas as set out in the letters patent.
Yeah. So basically, we've got a situation here where everyone said the Royal Commission is going to take too long. Well, at least Alba was saying, which is quite right. So they have a pretty hectic deadline where the RC or the Commissioner will have to deliver an interim report to government by the 30th of April 2026, which is not long, at all.
It's quite, they won't be doing much. It won't be getting away for the Easter break, put it that way.
It's taken me longer to write a script on Jamie McIntyre than that Royal Commission is going to take, and a final report by the 14th of December 2026. So, that is a deadline. That's long.
All right. Well, we think Australians are in for a bit of a shock, and clearly there have been multiple failures within security agencies and law enforcement. The latest news is that a security company, Community Security Group, or CSG, which provides security services to Jewish community groups and schools, had been in close contact with the New South Wales Community Policing Squad prior to the Bondi attack on 14 December. This might be coming as news to a lot of people. The information we have received is that CSG advised police that security for the Hanukkah by the Sea event was inadequate. A request was made to beef up police presence in and around the event on the Bondi foreshore. But for reasons that will need to be explored by the Royal Commission, New South Wales Police did not act on that recommendation. If that story is correct, and I believe it is, then the New South Wales cops will be looking for a hole to climb into.
Yes,
that is, a group came forward to say to them, we provide security services to Jewish people in the community, particularly around the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and we believe that there is a potential for something awful to happen at this place, and we are requesting an additional police presence, and the police, for whatever reason, said no.
That is, yeah.
So that's the latest, and it is really quite alarming. And because you will have, I understand there is a document in place where this CSG group, this security mob, had actually, they sit down with. There's a liaison officer, police officer that they communicate with, and sometimes very senior police officer that person will be, and there will be documents that say, hey, this is what we need. This is what we think is a problem. I guess the broader question, too, is why has the Jewish community, particularly in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, felt the need to have armed guards outside of schools, etc.? And that will go back to, that will predate Bondi, the Bondi attack.
By a long time.
The Hakoah Club was bombed in the 70s. I mean, obviously there a need was felt to provide armed guards outside of Jewish schools, for example. And that tells us that we've got a problem, right? That should tell us that we've got a problem with anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but I don't think that's something that's unique to Australia. You're not going to find that to be a isolated thing within our borders.
But I mean, it is something that surely needs to be corrected. I think that's one of the big questions. This has been going on for 30 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Australia.
how to
I don't know
correct
about
that.
other parts of the world. It's not
But
really
yeah.
important. But the fact that Jewish community groups, schools, school principals and so forth have said, look, we can't operate without having armed security guards at the front of the school.
Yeah. Like the Jewish schools in the eastern suburbs are fortresses. It's depressing.
It is. It really is. And I reckon that will be a sign that we've actually started to improve. If those things, if there's a need felt for those people to go away. I'm not saying it's going to happen soon.
I don't think it's going to happen at all, to be honest.
But
yeah.
that is one of those things that we really need to inquire into. I mean, this is not, this is not what other religions have to deal with.
Yeah. Look, to cut a long story short, I don't think we're going to see a drop in that. And I think we're just going to continue. Like, anti-Semitism is old as time, blah, blah, blah.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah.
That might be a bit of a forlorn expectation, but the fact that they're there troubles me.
Oh, and it should.
The fact that these security guards are outside schools, etc., really
and
troubles
they're there
me.
to protect children. So it's not just...
it indicates that we've got a problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's bad.
There are other inquiries.
Really
We've sort of touched on them around firearms licensing and all these other things that are bound to cause more embarrassment. And we are in for a rough ride. I guess the good news is it'll all be over by December 16 or 12.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I think there will be a bit
14.
of introspection going on, and I'm hoping that there'll be a bit more of a sober introspection happening when the time comes. Because right now it's so politicized.
Look, of course, you're giving evidence under oath. Senior police, intelligence agencies, politicians, whoever will be giving evidence under oath under a Royal Commission. So it's a bit much to say, I hope you're going to be honest about this.
Well, yeah.
But because you have to be.
Yes, but yeah. That doesn't mean there will be, but that's not the story.
If mistakes have been made, just put your hand up. Just put your hand up.
I think the hands are
Or
going
blame someone else.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, point the finger. Don't put your hand up. That's crazy. What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? You've got a mortgage to pay.
No, but I think there are great gaping holes in policing around counter-terrorism. Part of the problem too, I think, I just want to wrap up the Royal Commission discussion, but everyone's sort of calling for a Royal Commission. I don't think they really understand what it's going to mean. So counter-terrorism police cannot be named.
Yeah.
So they can't walk into a Royal Commission and start giving evidence. They will be attributed code names and their evidence will be heard in camera and all this sort of stuff. And people go, oh, why is that? Well,
yeah. Well,
this is what we've said. This is what we've set up.
And that's the nature. You were saying that was in legislation.
It's the nature of that sort of policing, yeah.
But even if it wasn't in legislation and that was an agreed term of the RC, I wouldn't have any issue with that. But you will probably have fuckwits whinging about it for reasons that are just basically bickering. And this just goes back to the general thing, which is I'm just hoping that over a little bit of time, we get a moment to heal. And this Royal Commission isn't a political shit fight like the last month has been, because it's been exhausting. We've not had a chance to mourn, and it's fucked in the head.
Yeah, we are in the hands of Virginia Bell in that respect. And I think they're pretty competent hands. All righty.
Yeah. She's very good.
Oh, Tommy! You really Yaxleyed your Lennons? Hey!
Now, we ask the hard questions. We're almost like a Royal Commission.
Good. I'm not lying.
At the Conditional Release Program, we ask the hard questions. And the question that we're asking right now,
Oh, yeah?
and it's a question that's been making Tommy Robinson hard,
Ooh, I like that.
is a tiny, weeny ultra-nationalist and vile racist. Is he a fan of musical theatre, interior decorating and good hygiene?
Well,
The answer is yes with a but or no with an if. The question over the sexuality of pint-sized Tommy arose when he, Robinson, a.k.a. Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I love how every report that includes his name also does the
It is good.
a.k.a. Stephen Yaxley Lennon.
You got
Because that was when he used to bear that name when he was a mere convicted fraudster.
Yes, exactly. And now he's got a new grift.
And he's got a much bigger grift now.
Yeah.
I think he's in the pay of the Emirates, but that's a story for another time.
That is another time.
He
yeah.
took to X to rail about proposed censorship in the UK, censorship of X in the UK, only to have outed himself as an online curb crawler.
Oh, that's a slang term I haven't heard before.
I'll let Joel explain.
All right. So Robinson's tweet went viral on X this week after complaining about YouTube showing him adverts promoting gay love with no age limit.
Ooh, that is a bit naughty.
In his post, Robinson attacked UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, accusing him of wanting to heavily regulate or even ban X over what he called weak content moderation, and used the ads as an example of what he claimed was inappropriate online content. However, users quickly pointed out that online advertising is personalized based on browsing behavior and interaction history, with many mocking Robinson for revealing what his algorithm was serving him.
Gay love with no age limit. Robinson quickly deleted the tweet after being ruthlessly mocked online. It really was very funny.
It is very funny.
Now, we make no assertions about his sexuality.
No.
He may enjoy a tryst or two with gay lovers of no age limit. We don't know. And frankly, we're not here to judge.
Well, depending on the no age limit part, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're
not here to
judging. We're definitely judging on that. But
judge
yes,
that.
As for sexuality, whatever.
Yeah, look, you want to do dudes, go for it. Look, poor old Tommy, he's not allowed to see his kids anymore due to all the crimes he's done. So maybe, just maybe, without the kids on the weekends, he's got a bit more personal time on his hands.
Bit of time, maybe too much.
And you know what?
Too much
They
time
say,
on his hands.
idle hands are homosexual work. That's what I've always said, and I think I'm right. So what we've read about here is what this means for a bunch of gay blokes going peacefully about their business, hitting up on Grindr or, the YouTube ad that Tommy was sent, hopefully consenting and over 18, arranging a meeting for a bit of extracurricular fun. And along comes Tommy fucking Robinson, bangs open the toilet stall, and you're like, I could barely see you. You're so small. I mean, what the fuck are you doing here?
I think it might be a form of gay conversion therapy.
Yeah.
If
I'd be terrified.
Going up for a bit of a gay tryst and Tommy Robinson turns up, you go, look,
No, I think I'll give girls a try.
I've been living a lie.
I want nothing to do with this. That bloke makes me fucking sick.
Look, we give our gay mates pause, certainly.
Yes,
maybe we should turn to the wisdom of Martin McDonagh, writer of In Bruges.
Yes.
Who ascribed the following words to Ken, played by Brendan Gleeson. And we say this of Tommy Robinson: I mean no disrespect, but you're a cunt. You're a cunt now, and you've always been a cunt. And the only thing that's going to change is that you're going to be an even bigger cunt. Maybe have some more cunt kids.
Yeah. Great fucking line.
Isn't it a great
Ray
line?
Fiennes really didn't like that. But anyway, watch the movie. It's fucking great film.
So good on you, Tommy, you fucking idiot. You fucking dangerous little gangster bastard.
Yep.
The best thing about it, that I love about Tommy, just to wrap this up, is he'll do these sort of street things now, and people will come up and just give it to him.
Oh, really?
Verbally.
Oh, bless.
And sometimes pick fights with him, which is rather lovely.
Oh,
but anyway, we must move on because we've got soft sets. And
We do.
They're up to some very silly stuff this time.
They really, really are.
We fired you, we sacked you, we dismissed you as what? As garbage, because that's all you are. You're a criminal, you're a traitor, and you're going to the biggest barbecue in history. So from Christmas dinner to you are the dinner.
Thank you, that's what I'll go with.
So the straw man Gregory Norman Francis, currently known as Man Living in Body, is having his mettle tested by the man who is insisting that he sign on the dotted line by the deadline or else he won't get his dead mum's stuff. Aww. Man Living in Body's a bit of a mouthful, so his title is just Man.
Man,
like
he's just
first
Man.
name, last, just Man. So he told this to Magistrate John Lesser in 2014, where he appeared barefoot in Geelong Magistrates Court over unpaid fines, another place similar to Dandenong you don't want to be on a Monday morning, and said this.
Yes, it is. So read our previous comments on Dandenong Magistrates Court and apply
Indeed.
them to Geelong Magistrates
Apply
Court.
them entirely, yes.
When asked by Magistrate John Lesser if he was Gregory Francis, Man replied, "My mum told me never to talk to strangers. What is your name?" Mr. Lesser repeated the question, to which Man replied, "My title is Man."
That's it. There we go. So we've established that. That's nice. So as with many subset stories, it got a bit sad when he said to the Madge that the real Gregory Francis was burned at the stake in 2006. I think this is showing that Man clearly has a few mental health issues. But look, we're not going to let that get in the way of a good yarn.
No.
No, God, no. He stuck to his guns and he was arrested and remanded to custody for refusing to identify himself. So let's just say he has form.
I'm sorry, but God bless Magistrate John Lesser.
I know, right? You just like, mate, fuck you. Just go to the clink downstairs for you. You need to have a bit of a timeout. So since then, man has won the old death lotto and has what sounds like a shitload of money coming his way for doing sweet fuck all, by the way. And the deal is confidential, so we don't know how much it is, but apparently it includes, among other things, a lakeside property on Warunga Shores in Victoria. Which
I don't know where that is.
It's in the middle of fucking
anything
nowhere.
that's lakeside's got to be worth a few, Bob.
Yeah, it's worth about $500,000. I actually bothered looking it up.
Okay.
So the catch is, man is being forced by the man, not to be confused with our protagonist, man, to cough up some documents and information. This includes his legal name, as mentioned at the top of the show for tax purposes, his tax file number, date of birth, address, and copies of his latest tax return.
100-point check, really, surely, isn't it? I mean, I know that from probate stuff. You've got to provide the old 100 points.
Yes, well, I think there might be an issue with the tax return because I don't think that's happened for a fucking while.
Might be 1 or 2 years behind.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that can be fixed, but I don't think it's going to be. So, look, I'm just going to say that document may not exist, and the other ones might be a bit of an issue. My tax file number, I know, I look through, I'm like, where the fuck is it? I'll just look through our emails. His claim on the estate was settled in February 2023.
Been going on a while.
It's a couple of years ago, which means that man has fucked around for 3 odd years. To which, according to the trustee of the estate, is starting to get a little bit tedious.
Oh, you have got to feel sorry for the trustee there.
The trustee's just like, well, I did not fucking sign up for this. So the trustee has decided to take this matter to court to finalise it. And they allege that man has breached the settlement by failing to do all things necessary to give effect to the deal. That's legal speak. If the matter does proceed and man decides to be a dick about it, he could lose his inheritance and be up for costs. Aww. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy, really.
No lakeside living for you, man.
No.
For example, man was charged with criminal damage and making threats to kill, which brought him before County Court Judge Barbara Cottrell, where he refused to talk to the beak unless she referred to him by his real name, which, as we all know, is man.
It is.
Man living in body.
Well, that's the full name.
Yeah, that's the
full title. Yeah.
Eventually, Judge Cottrell caved in and acknowledged his title. This was after Pest Living in Body provided several pieces of identification in that name, including a miner's right, a permit that allows individuals to prospect for minerals, a MasterCard, and a Medicare card.
Yeah.
He also claimed that Centrelink had acknowledged his title as Man Living in Body because he's on the rock and roll.
Of course he is. Of course he's a fucking doll. Like, this man is a dickhead. But yeah, I think the MasterCard would probably be the easiest thing. But like, imagine how many fucking hours of dicking around it would have taken for him to arrange all of that. Then the credit card, that's easy, right? You just put your name into a form and they're just like, oh yeah, sure. What would you like to be called? 21% interest, mate. Don't worry about it. But a Medicare card, like that is such commitment to the bit. Imagine all the phone calls and the fucking bullshit you'd have to go through instead of just getting a job. Like, getting Centrelink to call you by a title can't be that hard because, like, no, it wouldn't
be that hard.
Because they just be like, look, I'll call you fucking late for breakfast. Just shut the fuck up and go away. Here's your dole check. Piss off. But I just really do. I think that if he put all his time and resource into doing something productive, he would be a really accomplished man. But he's not. He's just man. Anyway, so the Herald Sun reported this lovely exchange between man and the judge, Judge Cottrell. Go with this.
Judge Cottrell asked that the name be linked to the court file belonging to Gregory Francis, but that did not appear to placate the accused man.
Oh.
Do you have jurisdiction over living man? He asked. Judge Cottrell assured him that she did. I have jurisdiction of that, she said. What about the Ten Commandments? He really does love to go off on a tangent, doesn't he?
Yeah,
what about the Ten Commandments? The accused asked, do no harm. Do no murder. Don't do any murders.
And don't root your neighbour or something?
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Judge Cottrell suggested it would be good if he could live by that.
Yes.
Who was on trial today? What name is here? The accused man continued. Gregory Francis, also known as Man Living in Body, Judge Cottrell said.
There it is. It's in the courts. It's on record. I've seen people discussing this, saying that you can get around the straw man issue based on that precedent, which is a very interesting way of seeing it. But that's fine. Generally speaking, if you annoy a judge enough out of procedural fairness and general boredom, they will let you call yourself whatever the fuck you want. You're still going on remand if you're a dick about it. So on Facebook, Man Living in Body goes by Raggedy Man, where his profile picture is a straw man, like in the Wizard of Oz movie, which I think is very funny. So I've got a soft spot for him in that regard, but his feed is a string of deeply unhinged and bizarre posts that just don't make any sense. And that's very concerning. As I said earlier, as with most funny subsit stories, he's a bit of a nutter, which is a bit sad. But look, he could be a very wealthy nutter. All he has to do is pony up his TFN and a tax return. And yes, we all know you didn't file last year's tax return, mate. No one's fucking wondering.
Probably not since 1967.
No,
but anyway.
but that's fine. Just get it done. Just go to H&R Block. Tell them the check's in the mail.
Can you imagine the poor bastard at H&R Block when Raggedy Man walks in?
Oh, barefoot and very smelly.
You don't get paid. You don't get paid enough to do that. You just don't get paid enough to do that.
But I tell you what, if he doesn't pay the bill, there's going to be money in the banana stand if you come after him.
That's right.
It's just ridiculous because all you have to do is just get this fucking done, send it to the trustee, and you get yourself a lakeside house, among other things.
Which you can sell and walk away with $500,000 with.
Or you could just hang out by a fucking lake. That seems nice, Raggedy Man, you psycho.
Anyway, all right, scoreboard.
Well, look, I'm not going to say here that he has to do anything. I think the Sovsit has managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory very adequately and has maintained the count at Sovsit 0, the man.
500,000.
Just a lot.
All right.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy.
I mean, I knew Harvey Weinstein. I knew Roger Ailes. I knew O.J. Simpson came to my house. I knew Bill Cosby came to my house.
I don't think you'd necessarily want to be me. It's like a never-ending explosion. All the time.
Who cherry pick and design these fabricated studies and...
Well, now we've got a new segment. It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
This is called Kill Count. This is a part of our ongoing debate on who's going to kill more people, Elon Musk or Bobby Kennedy Jr. And while we continue to battle that question, we openly acknowledge that Musk is a long way ahead.
He's a long way ahead, but he seems to have quit early.
The dismantling of USAID, they call it, has caused profound issues across the globe and many deaths.
Many deaths, and will continue in the future. But he has kind of like stopped early and he's just like resting on his laurels. Very lazy man in that regard. A Boston University estimates around 600,000 deaths, 2/3 of them children in 2025 alone. So that is pretty good. That is pretty good. The Center for Global Development suggested 500,000 deaths by the end of September 2025 and a further 500,000 projected by the end of the year that just included.
Lazy Mill there, yeah.
That's a good amount. In the longer term, a Lancet study forecasts more than 14 million additional deaths by 2030. Ooh, RFK, you've got to work real fucking hard to catch up with that.
It's a big number.
That's just from the loss of USAID funding, including 4.5 million children under 5 years old. We're not talking just kids as just a throwaway thing. Under 5.
Toddlers and babies.
Yes, the ones who really didn't care about your fucking Twitter posts. And while Oxfam has warned of over 3 million deaths per year from the cuts, not just 3 million deaths per year.
It's a big number. Look, he's going to be up there, really. I mean, 20th century, what do we have? Mao, Stalin, Hitler, of course.
Hitler's there, yep.
There are no American names there, but now Elon, well, he's South African, but yeah, he's going to make the cut.
Good shit. Yeah. He really should be up there. Yeah.
But Bobby Jr. has not been idle. His latest nonsense to prospective and new parents was not to listen to experts. Shun those pediatricians.
Fuck them.
Doctors, community health workers, what would they know?
No.
Instead, Bobby Jr. has called on prospective parents to, and I quote, do their own research. Have we heard that before? It's a familiar theme.
Yes, but it's time the government said it.
And it's QAnon offshoot. He's the Pol Pot from Kennebunkport.
He really, really is. Don't wear glasses around him. He'll call you an expert and shoot you in the fucking face. So, of course, gold standard science is Bobby's latest catch cry, which in this case, in his case, means anti-vax rhetoric, which is bound to contribute significantly to the US's already terrible data on infant mortality. Gold standard science is whatever he decides it is that week.
In the high 40s compared to the rest of the world, over just on 200 nations,
good.
and they're like 48th. World's biggest economy can't get their infant mortality up. It's going to go south anyway. The US childhood immunisation schedule, as set out by ACIP and the CDC, has gone through a massive anti-vax shift with which moves vaccines against rotavirus, influenza, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, meningococcal disease from routine recommendations to, quote, shared clinical decision-making, a category that shifts responsibility for initiating vaccination from the healthcare system to individual families.
Oh, it's about time we had some choice.
Because they know more than paediatricians.
That's right.
So what does shared clinical decision-making mean? Well, it's gobbledygook, really, for ridding paediatric care of the child's doctor making the decision to vaccinate unless there is a genuine health consideration that would exclude the child from vaccination. Shared decision-making means the doctor can recommend, but it can make recommendations, but it is the parent's decision to make ultimately and can ignore medical advice. It's a good idea. Will it still be covered by the parent's medical insurance? Well, the answer is maybe.
That's the fucking
and maybe
thing.
not.
Yeah.
Here's the Kennedy-led CDC with their own gobbledygook job.
Oh, God, this is going to suck. Okay. Under the Affordable Care Act and its implementing regulations, ACIP recommendations that have been adopted by the CDC with respect to the individual involved and are listed on the immunization schedules of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention generally are required to be covered by group health plans and health insurance issuers offering group or individual health insurance coverage without imposing any cost-sharing requirements such as co-payment, co-insurance, or deductible.
Well, that's as clear as mud.
That was fucking meaningless. I hated reading that.
Look, this is the other thing. So in the States, you could get a vaccination from a flu vaccination, for example, at your pharmacy.
Yeah.
COVID vaccination at your pharmacy. Not anymore.
Nope.
And there's more bad news for Bobby Jr.
So in November 2025, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, announced that the region of Americas, two enormous continents, have lost verification as free from endemic measles transmission. Aww. The decision follows the conclusion of the PAHO Measles, Rubella, and Congenital Rubella Syndrome Elimination Regional Monitoring and Re-Verification Commission. Could you not have made that shorter, guys? Which met in Mexico City from 4 to 7 November 2025 to review the epidemiological situation across the region. The director of PAHO, Dr. Habas Barbosa, received and agreed with the Commission's report, indicating that endemic transmission of measles has been re-established in Canada, where the virus has circulated for at least 12 months. Bless. And as a result, the Americas, which was the first region in the world to eliminate measles twice, has now lost its measles-free status. And all other countries continue to maintain their measles elimination status, just not the fucking Yanks.
Yeah, it was the Canadians first, actually. This is not from PAHO, but the Canadians have lost their measles-free status, and now there's two entire continents, thanks to Bobby.
I would say that's Alberta.
Eliminated measles twice. And we might wonder about that, but there was a better vaccine produced. And it's an mRNA vaccine, by the way.
Yeah, we can't have that. That's bad.
And it used to be a one-shot, now it's two. And it's basically, in the interim, there was a little bit of a spike in measles, but eliminated it. It's just cod liver oil and vitamin. Is it D that he recommends for measles?
I think it was something to do with cod liver oil, which was,
cod liver oil and something. Anyway.
Very weird. They do love vitamin D, though. They're big fans of sunlight. It, except for all their conspiracy theories.
Cod liver oil, terrific little treatment if you're living in the fucking 19th century
it is good for you, I suppose, but whatever.
With an expected longevity of about 28 years.
Yeah, it's definitely not a cure for measles. No.
Now, overall, regardless of whether people are being insured for it or not, this will mean a substantial drop-off in childhood vaccinations across the US, where herd immunity is being directly challenged across a range of vaccine-preventable illnesses.
Great.
And while the current ongoing spread of measles across has led to the deaths of just 3 children, bad, but only 3, all unvaccinated, by the way, the spread in years to come is likely to grow. There were, for example, more than 7,000 deaths from measles in the US in 1940. So it's been a killer for a long time. Highly infectious.
And it's very, very bad for you.
Infection.
And it's a very unpleasant death.
For the record, Paho says more than 7,000 confirmed. There's 7,000 again, but this is 7,000 confirmed cases of measles spread across the US, while the CDC under Kennedy puts it a little over 2,000.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I don't know who I trust.
But it's onward and upward for Bobby Jr., who took to an interview with a journalist who knew what she was talking about, Joel.
So there are currently 18 million cases of influenza with a new variant across the US, with 9 childhood deaths to date this year, 2026 that is, and 17 in total for the winter period, with 120,000 hospitalizations, and killed 9,300 mainly elderly Americans. In the 2024-25 flu season, there were 280 pediatric deaths in total, a record at the time. 89% of the children who died were not fully vaccinated, with 560,000 children hospitalized, the overwhelming majority of which were unvaccinated.
Bearing in mind, folks, that Bobby Kennedy has taken the influenza vaccine into the netherworld of, well, we can just sit down and talk to your doctor about it. And he was questioned by the journal about this, and particularly around deaths, pediatric deaths. And Bobby Jr. said it might be a good thing if the flu vaccine was not used at all for children. He actually said this. And when reminded about the deaths and the hospitalisation rates for unvaccinated children, Bobby Jr. did what he always does and straight out lied. He cited a Cochrane collaboration review on the influenza vaccine, claiming the meta-analysis showed that there was no difference between hospitalisation rates in vaccinated and unvaccinated children.
Yeah, so alas, the journal did not have that study to hand, Bobby Jr., and sort of he just babbled away with outright lies, because that's what he does.
He just made it up.
But bullshit.
This is the problem with Kennedy. You can go there really well armed with all your stuff, and he will come up with, he'll make a reference to a particular study, which most journalists are not, really anyone is not going to have access to that knowledge, and he'll come up with it. And then he just straight out lie about it, because the Cochrane Collaboration Review did not examine hospitalisation rates for children with influenza.
Okay.
You only get to find this out afterwards if you go and fact check him.
Yeah, fair call. Yeah.
So what a piece of shit. Anyway,
he just says what he wants.
From 2023 to 2026 showed the flu vaccine was 52% to 78% effective at preventing hospitalisations in children.
Yep.
All we can hope for is the midterms go the Dems' way, and this fucking charlatan is impeached. To an extent, the damage is already done. He might not get close to Elon's mass slaughter, but that's not for want of trying.
Good luck, Bobby.
I'm a staunch patriot. I love our country. I love our freedoms. I love that in Australia you can be anything that you want to be. There is nothing and no one stopping you from achieving your hopes, your aspirations, and your dreams.
It has been a huge month in Zippy Babbitt. I can't quite capture the absolute meltdown Zippy's experiencing right now. I'm not going to try. He has an obsession with leftist women who he hates with a disturbing passion. Maybe because they won't fuck him. He will post some sort of weird video of an American woman having an opinion, probably with coloured hair, possibly piercings, God forbid, and he will comment with something that's just sort of dark, weird, and unhinged, just sort of tinged with violence. And that's just a bit of a sort of meme at the moment on the right, the current thing that is like white liberal women are the enemy. So one of his tweets says this:
"We need to study woke white women.
And I just hope you don't.
I think what he means is, let's cut out slivers of their brain and put them under a microscope.
I genuinely think, like, what would he do? Look and be like, that definitely that's brain. Cool.
That is a brain. Yeah,
back to
bit of a
Parliament.
brain.
So look, Zippy's also very worried. He's worried about the UK.
Oh, no.
He's worried specifically about Mother England. He's worried about a lot of things, but this is definitely one of them. And he's it sounds like he's planning a visit. I don't know. But instead of some kind of normal tweet about how excited he is to go to London and see Big Ben and some fluffy hats, he tweeted this.
Is it safe for me to be in London or should I be worried? Well, you are a fat guy. So, I mean, if you're going to get stabbed, you're a bigger target.
Yeah, he probably won't hit an organ. Yeah, so that's good.
Anyway.
So look, this is because Babs has spent way too much time on Twitter looking at right-wing takes and fabricated crime waves committed by migrants, of course, in London. He's an idiot. Statistically, crime in London is one of the safest cities in the Western world with a record low homicide rate in 2025 of only 97
Yeah, it was a record.
Year. Pretty standard. There is a bit of a petty theft thing going on. There's been an increase in that with a phone snatching phenomenon occurring. Yep. And I tell you what, I would fucking love to see Zippy's phone take a holiday. I reckon it would be very good for his mental health. I think he needs to go over there. I think it'd be really good for him.
You mentioned that stat, 97 murders in a city the size of London.
Big place.
It actually is a bit of a record. And the same goes for violent crime. It's all down.
Yeah,
it's actually causing reform all sorts of problems,
Yeah, because, reality is reality. But don't worry.
Screaming, please commit more murders.
Well, there's always a fucking idiot who will believe it and tweet something like that. And that's
there we
Babbitt,
go.
Of course.
I think you found the man.
I found the target demographic. Unfortunately, he can't vote in England, but we can fix that. The reality is Babbitt is a bit of a scaredy cat because he shit the bed when he cancelled his plan to go to 10 CPAC. So you remember this? Like, this was apparently due to threats against him. But it was just after Charlie Kirk got shot, and our little potato-headed friend seemed a little bit rattled by that.
What a squib.
But you'd be scared if you had his media diet. I mean, the dude consumes some fucked up shit. Like, the thing he's really pissed off about, though, is in the UK, it's free speech. The free kind of speech, the really free one. Like gratis. It's under threat. Now, did you know there has been 12,000 arrests for social media posts over the last year? That's 30 a day.
What are you, 30 a day?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, apparently. And just for saying stuff online. What stuff, though? Well, let's not go bog down the details of what they said. We need to focus on the free speech aspect of this. So these 12,000 arrests, a number published in the Times, which came from a Freedom of Information request, is in relation to arrests, not charges or convictions. No. But being arrested is not a trivial matter. So I'm going to give it that. But it's being fucking dramatized. See, it's always interesting when someone mentions an arrest or a charge, they often omit the content of the message. So there may be legal fears based on repeating something that has seen legal consequences for an individual. Sure, I get that. But I have a theory. It's actually likely because the content of the message is fucked in the head and really hard to justify. So, the idea of having your freedom taken away for just a tweet, that's one thing. When it turns out the tweet is a call to incite violence or a tangible threat of violence or, a rape threat, it doesn't quite have the same chilling effect as just saying that tweets are sending people to jail.
Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Free speech is under attack. You're no longer allowed to threaten women with rape. What next? They'll ban books. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. So I don't know about you, Jack, but I don't send many death threats.
I'm trying to keep it to a minimum
you keep it
this
down?
year.
You keeping it down? That's
New
good.
Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Fewer death threats.
Fewer, yeah. Not none. Be realistic.
No. Well, you can't just go cold turkey on the death threats.
No. You get the DTs in the morning. Haven't done a death threat for a while. The delirium tremens was I was going for, not actual death threats. So these clowns think the right to harass and threaten people online is somehow a virtuous behavior that must protect at all costs. And unsurprisingly, Elon Musk is all over this. Dread to imagine his outbox. The free speech guy who has a funny habit of suing people for their speech. Weird, but an absolutist nonetheless. One of these arrests was anti-trans guy and deeply lonely individual Graham Linehan, who was arrested without charge by 5 police at Heathrow Airport on suspicion of inciting violence in relation to 3 posts he made about trans issues. Now, this has led to a backlash, not just from the usual suspects, but from Labour. They have essentially directed the London Metropolitan Police to reduce the amount of police resources dedicated to enforcing these laws, reserving arrests for hate crime incidents or something severe. So a spokesperson for the Met Police said this.
We understand the concern around this case. This is the Linehan case.
Yeah.
The Commissioner has been clear he doesn't believe officers should be policing toxic culture war debates with current laws and rules on inciting violence online, leaving them in an impossible situation. As a result, the Met will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents. We believe this will provide clearer direction for officers, reduce ambiguity, and enable them to focus on matters that meet the threshold for criminal investigations.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure you won't get in trouble for this, but good luck to you. One of the tweets Lenihan was investigated for was this.
If a trans-identified male is in female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. Okay.
Yeah, how about you don't? That's bad. So this is an example of why we can't have this. It's an incitement toward violence to a vulnerable community.
Yep.
I don't see how that's something I'm supposed to stand on some picket line and defend. Limits on free speech should not be taken lightly. I get that. And neither should incitement to commit violence in that regard. I mean, like, if we heard something like that casually mentioned on the BBC, it would be an outrage, and rightly so. But on Twitter, apparently this is speech worth protecting. Yeah. So look, I would say there's no real sort of right or wrong answers here. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of stakeholders involved. There's a lot going on here. But one thing I can say, for me, that is not speech worth protecting. Nothing about that was clever, interesting, or funny. And if that's the kind of speech that you want to die to protect, then maybe you're a bit of a fuckwit. I'm just speculating there. Maybe you're a bit of a shit person.
Yeah, could be.
But for a bit of irony, let's just top this all off with Babbitt retweeting a news article with this caption.
This is the most insane thing I've seen this week. And
It's not.
I've been looking at my genitals. The tweet is from Visegrad 24, a news aggregator known for posting complete bullshit. So keep that in mind as we go forward, folks.
Mm-hmm.
The tweet says, breaking. The UAE announces anyone who says breaking on social media, just shut the fuck up, right? Just don't do it. Breaking. The UAE announces it will cut. It will cut. Oh.
I know, right?
Funds for citizens who want to study. You're a journalist, man. You may not be a journalist, but at least you can fucking write. You know,
I know.
No need for the pluralism here. I don't want to get obsessed about it, but I better start again. The UAE announces it will cut funds for citizens who want to study in the UK out of fear of Emirati students being radicalised by Muslim Brotherhood Islamists on British campuses.
Mm-hmm.
An Arab state. The right went fucking nuts on this shit.
They did. Yeah,
an Arab state now views a European state as a dangerous Islamist radicalisation hotspot. What does it?
That's a concern, isn't that? That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
The fact that the UK is considered a place of Islamic radicalisation by the UAE, that's really hectic, right? Yeah, let's not look further into it. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah,
let's not look any further into that at all.
The Emirates, they're just golden human beings. They would never do anything wrong.
You should never question the Emirati because you'll go to jail. So look, as usual, the tweet is just that. It's a headline. And it's not completely wrong. The UAE has actually withdrawn state funding to Emiratis who may want to study in the UK. That is a thing. And the UAE has said this due to concerns of radicalisation. Not of Islamic extremism per se, but the Muslim Brotherhood specifically.
Yeah, they don't like them.
Let's have a look at this. The UAE are cracking down on the Muslim Brotherhood, and members of the group have been rounded up and jailed in the country. Opposition to the government is banned in the UAE. That might give you a hint as to why they're being arrested. So depending on who you ask, the Muslim Brotherhood are either extremists who use political violence to achieve their objectives, or a peaceful democratic organization that is seen as a threat to autocratic governments in the Middle East. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a hint here. The group is banned in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, and the UAE. All are very well known for their timid approach to Islam, especially the Saudis, and their love for democracy.
Oh, they love it.
Big time.
More. Give us more.
So the Muslim Brotherhood have been associated with uprisings in the Middle East in 2011, which many called the Arab Spring back then, and that did result in regime change in Egypt, among other things, blah, blah, blah.
And Al Jazeera been giving the arse from Qatar, I think, from memory.
Really?
Yeah, Al Jazeera they were considered to be full of Muslim Brotherhood clowns. I mean, Peter Grest, ABC journalist, was arrested for the same sort of thing, having a relationship with the Muslim Brotherhood.
There you go. And I wonder why that was. I'm sure it was for reasons of extremism. Fuck off.
Egypt is the capital of the torture world, Joel. Well, the torture capital of the world.
Yeah, looks like a fun place to hang out. So this withdrawal of funding for potential students is believed to be an economic part of the pressure campaign to try and crack down the Muslim Brotherhood because they don't like it. And the Muslim Brotherhood does seem to have some degree of presence in the university campuses of the UK, but it's not something that's caused much actual concern to people who know about it or, have any input in the situation. And it's not just leftist fucking burying of the truth. It just isn't a big deal. Now, of course, it's given idiots a thing to whinge about, which you can see the tweet above, but it's not considered an actual threat. The UAE really wants Starmer to declare the Brotherhood a terrorist organization because they want to crack down on them because they're a threat to their autocracy. And he said last month in December that it was under review. But a pressure campaign needs pressure, and that's what this is about. It's just an economic lever. So this is from the Times.
One expert on the Middle East said that the Emiratis were, quote unquote, obsessed with the Muslim Brotherhood and it was their, quote unquote, bogeyman, but that the Brotherhood was more of an ideology than a structured organisation. Mm-hmm. They added, they complain to the UK about the Muslim Brotherhood to cause a diplomatic stink until they get what they want. It's often an internal thing. I don't believe our universities are infested with the Muslim Brotherhood. It's all about positioning. It's a way of threatening young students to behave, saying in essence, whatever you do, don't join the Muslim Brotherhood if you're in the UK. It's like a warning shot to students to dabble at their peril.
So the idea of taking the UAE at their word uncritically is very funny, but it's so obvious the card they're playing. And idiots like Babbitt just walk straight into the trap and amplify it because they're fucking morons. So this is reporting from the Middle East Eye.
In December, the UAE even took the unusual step of paying for Nigel Farage, the leader of the right-wing Reform UK party, to travel to Abu Dhabi to meet senior officials over a shared opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood, quote unquote.
Yes. And of course, Nigel Farage is an idiot who is vulnerable to a junket and he could be bought with a few trinkets and probably some sandwich press steaks.
That Russian money's going to run out soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, God, you got to find your next fucking trinket factory, dickhead. So I would imagine it really wasn't hard to get him on board with suppressing any form of behavior that Emiratis aren't fond of. But what's the irony here? Why is that? Well, in order to purge the universities in the UK of this alleged infestation of Muslim Brotherhood groups, you would need to regulate speech.
Wait a minute.
You can't do that. But that's what you want, isn't it, Zip? So the thing you hate the most is the thing you need to validate your worldview. If you had a shred of self-awareness and depth of insight, that would probably upset him if he could read. He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he really is.
He doesn't get it.
Just in respect of Tommy Robinson, Joel.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy's turned up in Dubai, just before Christmas, I think, or maybe just after. He was confronted by one of the boxers there who wasn't having any of his shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that,
But now, recently, Tommy's been talking about geopolitics, particularly around the Middle East.
Oh, God.
And it just tells me that he's probably on a quid from the Emiratis.
I would say that is incredibly likely.
He's always talking about, all these people who are coming to the UK. Now he's talking about domino theories in the Middle East and all of this sort of stuff.
Wow. So his Islamophobia has become nuanced now as a result of getting a fucking payout from the Qataris
you can tell
and crypto.
Something's changed, and it's probably a few bob entering his bank account somewhere from Abu Dhabi.
Or his crypto wallet, but yes, absolutely.
Or Dubai.
Fucking disgraceful.
All right. Well, you have been listening to the Conditional Release program with your hosts, Jack the Insider and Joel Hill.
You sure have. Jack can be found on Twitter on @Jack the Insider and Joel on Crunchy Moses with a K.
Really?
I don't use Twitter anymore.
I don't use it much. I did look at it today.
I tried to do Blue Sky.
Anyway, we have a Patreon to help keep this sustainable. And we mention that to you. So just hit up patreon.com, I should say, / the Conditional Release. The Conditional Release program. And that's it. Yeah, that is the address.
This script took fucking hours to write.
I'll repeat it now. Now that'll be in a coherent and manageable way. www.patreon.com / the Conditional Release program.
Something like that.
Just in case you were typing this out.
And we have premium episodes and things on there, so it's not actually completely useless, but it also just helps if you don't really care much about that either.
All right. And finally, all feedbacks, tips and feedbacks let's get some feedbacks. And finally, all feedback, tips, and death threats should be sent to the conditional release program at gmail.com. We would love to hear from him, even if it's to tell us you're Zippy the Pinhead and you'd like us to escort you around London.
I've had threats.
I'm stealing your phone, Zip.
I think you fucking need it. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.